Hi guys, welcome to Friday evening. I will turn that banner off now. I am obviously not in control tonight. We are so lucky tonight. Welcome to Toni Talks, where we talk about divination, spirituality, and anything that is weird. Anything goes. And I'm really looking forward to tonight because joining me is Ethan Nicoll, astrologer, diviner, and co-founder of Myself is My Cards. Ethan really looks into those traditional Marseille tarot roots, the Lenormand, person after my own heart, playing cards, and so much more. And we're going to get into it today. We're going to get into whatever weirdness you would like in the comments too. So please make sure you ask your questions. Welcome to Ethan. Hi, Ethan.
Hi, Toni.
Did I do you justice in my intro?
More so. Justice is supposed to be fair. I don't know, I'll try to live up to it.
Absolutely. Well, we were having a talk before we came on here about your area in the world and a most magical place, which I've probably spoken about on lives before, but I absolutely love. And that is the Winchester Manor House. Does anyone in the comments know the Winchester Manor? I've been saying that everybody should get there. I think it's a once in a lifetime thing. And it's actually about the Winchester as far as the guns are concerned, and the Lady Winchester or Mrs. Winchester. And she had a terrible fear that the spirits of the people who were killed by their guns were actually coming to get her. So she built a house that is like a maze. There's seance rooms, there's stairs leading nowhere, and she continued to build until she actually died. I'd be interested what you think about that, the spirit coming to get her from that Winchester gun legacy.
How about that? How about that? That's a great example of, people talk about curses. People talk about anxiety, things that are embedded in their family history that express themselves through our our core being almost, it seems, right? We're born with it. We're born into it. It's a legacy that we're a branch of, and how do we handle that, right? And so the external manifestation of that is that this lady felt those souls. She felt the damage. She felt what kind of, everything's interwoven in that, right? People have guns, they use it for protection. How many gun related incidents are cut and clear? How many of them are right? There's confusion around almost every time. I mean, my gosh, it's in the news a lot right now, right? And if you're going to stop and think about all the souls that were affected by all the guns and all the bullets, and to know that something about your life is connected to that, then it caused her to build room upon room, hallway after hallway in a maze of different rooms. Like, it makes you think, what was she trying to create by doing that or get away from, right?
Yeah.
Something in her mind and her spirit felt like that was the thing that she could do to maybe protect herself. Like, what is she doing? Like maybe putting all that baggage into one room and then figuring if I do another door, I can lock it out, right? Or is it chasing her, right? It's chasing her and she's like, I can lock that door and I can run into another and lock that, right? We've all had those dreams.
Oh, yeah.
So, poor lady.
So how, if Lady Winchester dropped on your doorstep, what advice would you give her?
Well, okay. So she's like, she doesn't tell me right away that she has this house with all these rooms, right?
Right.
She's disturbed though, and she's seeing somebody who, works with the unseen. And so to my capacity, I say, okay, let's go out to the, I'm not taking her into my house. I'm going out to the patio that we have out front. We're
That's
going
a
to sit
good
at the table.
idea.
We're going to sit at the table, or I'm going to say, all right, hey, why don't we meet over at a cafe? That's even better for this particular case, right? Because she's rattled. She needs help. And then, so we might throw some cards. We might do some kind of divination. This wonderful thing that sits between you and somebody else, where you can communicate and get a sense of what's going on. And then, so I'll feel her energy. Of course, she'll present herself with this the state that she's in, and there will be things that she says, even if she doesn't say, "I'm a Winchester." I'm so concerned about, perhaps she's not always thinking that that's actually the psychology of it. She feels this big energy that's chasing her and haunting her. And she feels the death, but probably that's like way in the shadow. She's protecting herself from it. She doesn't even know why she's building this house, and she's not telling me yet. Right. So we sit over the cards and we get a sense from her energy and what cards happen there. And as I describe certain things, it'll bounce off of her. I can feel it even if she doesn't say anything, but then maybe she will. And then she'll say something contradictory, or she'll say something that actually allows us deeper into the situation as she begins to trust the process, maybe open up to me. The more she feels that I'm helping, probably the more she will. And then we can talk about it and see what we can do with it.
So what's your belief system? Because obviously we haven't met before now. What's your belief system when it comes to spirit and being, in her mind, she was plagued by them. How does that fit into what you actually believe?
Yeah, well, it makes sense. On a real grounded level, is just having compassion for the people that were affected by a thing. And that's we call those things human.
Yeah.
We call those things compassionate, right? But if we felt, there are many mythological and spiritual people who we keep the stories of, who dared to feel the responsibility and the weight of all the good and the bad things that happen in the world. And if we tally that up, we're looking at human history. That's a complicated mess, right? So my personal thing would be that I stand somewhere in the whole lineage of the human race, and I'm trying to figure my stuff out. I'm in between a lot of different belief systems. I have a difficult time with the term belief, and this is why.
Oh, I like this.
Things
Go on.
Well, okay, so things are. To say that I believe in whether or not something is like me almost saying I am choosing to participate in a world in where this actually exists, because any belief system that you can fathom, if somebody's thinking it and practicing it's real, it exists. I'm going to choose whether or not I believe in that. That's I don't know. It's I mean, from my own self-preservation, all these things the ego does, okay. But aside from that, well, I don't choose to do that. Let's put it that way.
I love
I
that
want.
because I love that. I really do, because I actually haven't thought about it that way before. I always say I believe in spirit. I believe in this, and it really does make sense because I know, I know spirit are there. I know. So it does make, well, it's made me question the words I use now as well.
And it's cool because words have several meanings at the same time, and so does any event that happens. Any lifetime you live, you're going to have, everybody's experiencing multiple things at the same time, and we hold our own personal, we're very dynamic. And so, I try to honor that and keep that. I try to hold things like this with open hands, right? Instead of trying to grasp, you grasp and it slips between your fingers. You try to hold something and it ceases being the thing that you wanted to behold in the first place, stuff like that. I'm enigmatic thinking that either leads somewhere or it doesn't, right?
Yeah. Well, I like to sit and consider how I understand the universe. And I come from a standpoint of obviously my own belief system that we've already discussed, the word belief, mixed in with facts of science. You see, that's where I see the facts from, the scientific. The other stuff I can't corroborate so much, or prove, that's probably the best word for it. But I sit daily and try and understand what my belief system is, or how the universe works around me. And it really, when it comes to, if we think about Winchester and the spirits, I think that's a personal thing that could actually be resolved with self-work, a lot of self-work, and a strong support system around you as well. So I do think that we can experience spirit. We can also be afraid of spirit, of course, if we have that within us, or any reason to, from the past or generations, etc. But I also think that it can be resolved.
Yeah. So then, well, if we continue with that case, once we get a sense for where she's at, and understanding, okay, a sense of even just, it doesn't have to be specific. It's like, oh, the key thing that I would be looking for is she running away from something, or is she trying to lock something down? Because those are
Yeah.
two different fundamental motion things. And if I can secure that understanding, at least for the moment, because she might alternate too. People that have severe trauma, I mean, we all alternate, but it can be extreme with some folks. And, also clinical psychological work has a strong place and a reason for being there. And I also support the fact that alternative remediation, in terms of things that we might call magic, or these suggestions with herbs and oils and incense and
Well,
procedures.
I wanted to talk to you about that, because you wrote about magical remediation, and I wondered how that looks from your point of view.
Yeah, well, we try to get a feel for, of course, I encourage people to do the clinical stuff and have that going on. And this can go and be a component to that you can do for your own spirit. Every religion and spirituality has methods of meditation and prayer and adornment and things that you do. Okay, so since I acknowledge a multiplicity of all kinds of people's, I want to be able to talk with people on the level of spirituality that they are. And I kind of, I'm well poised for that, because I've studied a lot of stuff, I'm and I've seen things work. So I'm getting a feel now in my age, getting a feel for how those things correspond, and what we can do to open roads, take the leap, focus, feel good in your heart, let go of baggage, things like that. These are the things that we want to do, right? And so then you can, there are candles, and there's whole systems of colors and spell work, herbs, planets, stones, all these things that, until you study it, you think, sure, oh yeah, this means this. Oh, that is connected to that. Well, okay, spend a little time with it, fall in love with it, look for the correspondences. Um,
I
it-
think you have to live it.
yeah,
Really, you do the learning, but then to actually live it, because I work with color as well, but maybe in a different way to what you do. And I really think that there's been so much. You learn one thing, you live it for a while, and then you find that your brain starts to evolve in some way where it's connecting the dots with the other stuff that you've learned so far and creating that system that actually makes sense to you. And if you've got your herbs, you've got your colors, you've got your candles, and the energetic work as well, then I think you can't help but your brain has to catch up at some time and connect the dots between all of them to create that system within you.
yeah, absolutely. That's how I experience it as well. I try not to take on too much. I've always just followed my own interest and heart as far as what leads to the next thing. Um, I know there are a lot of people that are in a hurry to be an expert at everything, so that they feel like they're not an imposter in the world
Yeah.
of whatever you're working in. And it's like, well, the truth is like, well, okay, what is an imposter? What, like, if you feel like an imposter, what you're feeling is that perhaps you're in over your head a little bit and you need to like stand where you should. Can you rock those boots, those flashy red boots today or not?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
recognize where you're at.
But I think that comes with age as well.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Or
we do get
some people are
confidence with age.
for sure. Some people are amazing. These are the prodigies, the people that are just already there. And
Mm,
there are people like that.
that's very true. We'll take a minute just to say hello to everybody who's joined. And then I've got a question in mind. So hello, Tina. Hi, Jane. Moontree Initiative. Susanna, happy birthday. And how do we address your lovely wife?
My lovely wife?
Yes, she's watching.
Oh, yeah. Well, I like Lelia. There's an
I
I
think
in there that,
Lilia's beautiful. But how
yeah.
does she like it?
She likes Leela.
Leela.
She doesn't, yeah. Well, are you rocking the red shiny boots or are you going to rock that I in there? That's,
Rock the eye in there, Lilia.
yeah, I
I think
think
that's
so. Lelia. We all see it, Lelia.
we all do, and we'll get everybody in the comments who see it too. Hi, Vicky.
Excellent.
Jane, Jane said, "It's not the dead we should fear; it's the living." Fair point. So we were talking about that system that we have within ourselves, the stack up of all the things that we've learned, that we've really felt pulled to do. What are your top three, if you had to rank what you've learned so far, how it's made you evolve mentally and spiritually? What would your top three practices be?
Okay. Um, these each will break down obviously into subcategories of all kinds as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
Curiosity is number one. Maintain your curiosity always, and then pay attention to where that's drawing you, because that's where your attention will follow. And I mean, I know it sounds rote, but it's absolutely true,
I like that.
right? Because that's where your interest is going to be, and you're opening your own gates to the stuff to come in. That's that, right? And then practicing opening the gates, and which means that you have to balance the vulnerability as well as your boldness, you know. Um, and then three, uh, it would have to be, I think I'm required to say something about being thankful. And it's a very difficult thing to keep in mind all the time, and so that's why it needs to be emphasized. But if we can manage to be thankful for the blessings that were bestowed with upon doing that open, vulnerable boldness that our curiosity draws us toward, that's where it comes together full circle. And I'll tell you what, you feel that feeling and you don't feel like an imposter anymore.
Wow. Wow. They're great answers, extremely eloquent as well, way better than what I would have given.
Come on, get out of here.
No,
Thanks,
seriously.
but all right,
I was.
whatever.
No, I like that. I seriously, I've written all three of them down, and what I actually like about them is that although we're talking about spirituality and everything, and the universe as being weird, each one of those categories, as such that you said, are actually easy bite pieces for anybody, because maintain your curiosity. Well, yeah, you know, I get quantum physics podcasts. That's my thing. And I listen to these podcasts because I try and align them with my spirituality and what I understand of the universe. So I learn the quantum physics side so that maybe I can explain something. So that maintain curiosity, well, yeah, hell yeah. And the balancing of vulnerability as well. You don't hear people speaking about that as far as the spiritual path is concerned. People speak about all the, and I'm sorry, I do find it a little bit boring when people bang on about grounding protection, when there's so much more. And our vulnerabilities, if we're constantly grounding and protecting, we're not actually looking at those vulnerabilities. We're building a wall around us rather than looking within as well. So yeah, and gratefulness and thankfulness. Every night when I go to bed, before I meditate, I do say what I'm grateful for, and I do think about the things that actually bring me joy as well. So it's nice to hear what sounds like simple concepts as a response to that, but actually incorporates so much on the human journey.
Yeah, yeah. If you back up far enough so that you can say something that applies to everyone, at least initially, you know, there are pathways and crossroads along the way, right? But starting with that universality, it you know, it's this is this is the area of meaning anyway. So if we're trying to arrive at a meaning, and people talk about meanings, I get very bored with that. Meaning. Man, you know what the meaning is? You'll feel the meaning. Let's
Yeah.
look at something and see what it expresses. So we're looking at expressions from these divinatory arts.
Wow. And you prefer Tarot de Marseille? Is that your favorite?
I wanted it to be.
Oh,
I did. I thought that I was going to go out and oh man, when I was yeah, okay, so like the cards, getting into cards and going ahead and doing this. Started with Marseille, and there's a cool there are connections, and I see why now. But when it came to going out and doing public readings or reading for people, um, I found myself going to Lenormand so much.
Really?
Yeah. Oh yeah, all the time, all the time. So that is my main deck. I don't use it traditionally per se, but I acknowledge all of the traditional. I've
Mhm.
honored the cards enough to learn those things. I
Absolutely.
I overhear maybe one or two of your classes when Leela's taking them, perhaps. And I've studied your technique and your what you're doing with it, which I think is wonderful. And I see why you're doing it and how it works. It
So how has Lenormand got to the top of your pyramid?
the archetypes that are shown there are basic and understandable by anyone who sits across from them. That's
Mm,
the first thing. When you point to the
true.
bear, it's a bear, and we know what a bear is. I like to say, if you encountered a bear in real life, how are you going to feel? You know,
Yeah.
you're gonna be like, I'm not making any fast moves. I'm not, and so the bear in Lenormand, this boss figure, this very powerful thing that it carries, like, yeah, um, you're not gonna crack a questionable joke or take your Taco Bell and eat it in
Right.
front of your boss in your boss's office, right? You're going to be poised. You're going to acknowledge the stature of your boss and what she can wield and how she can change something in your life, like whether or not you stay at your job or something like that.
Mhm.
And I love the mama bear aspect of the bear as well. There's just so much, but they are intelligent. They'll surprise you with their capability, how fast they
Oh
run, the
yeah.
fact that they can go up a tree, right? You think
Mhm.
that it's no, you gotta respect that bear. And that's exactly what the bear is, right? And
Yeah.
so yeah, you spend your time with any one of those arcana, any one of those cards, any one of those archetypes, and you'll see how they interact and play together. And people just appreciate it when you do that kind of reading.
Well, I love Lenormand. I can't say otherwise. Um, but it's surprising when a system takes over. It's it really sweeps you into its entirety when you're looking at that GT laid out. I don't think there's anything like looking at the GT laid in front of you to I don't know, my brain just automatically goes into the interpretation, just seeing those cards. It's almost like they sing a story to you when you lay them.
They do.
So,
That's what's going on, right? Yeah,
yeah.
this I know the word portrait. Um, well, okay, there's different kinds of art, right? There's different. There are portraits, and then there are landscapes, and there are scenes, large, panoramic scenes, and so you can get any of those with the Grand Tableau, and you can zero in like a Bosch almost, right? Where you see these little scenes that are happening within scenes, the three panel spread of a that one awesome weird Bosch piece, right? Uh, each representing sections, right? Yeah, I kind of try to treat it like art, like encountering art, and then I zoom in and zoom out to see the distance and the yeah, and it can do all that. So I'm not saying that Marseille can't. You can do tableaus and stuff. Like you're going to be releasing a book soon, right?
Hmm. Not
And
on
but
Tarot de Marseille.
okay, isn't it tarot though? No?
It's Tarot Tableau, yeah. I've got it
Yeah.
here, actually.
Okay. And then
That's my
so what kind of cards do you have in mind for that?
That's the Rider-Waite Smith.
Okay. Yeah. And they're pretty scenic.
Hmm.
And so yeah. So there's a lady. There's these different and these personalities can bounce off each other and each that's a little bit that lends a little bit more to the tableau kind of atmosphere, doesn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I think it looks a bit like a movie board when you put it down. You've got all the scenes, and you can mix them in with one another on that.
Totally. Yeah. So yeah, but I don't work with the Rider-Waite so much. I'm familiar with it. I respect it. I want more flexibility sometimes, right? And so then I know also that I haven't caught fire with the Rider-Waite in the way that I would need to in order to get it to the depth to where I feel like it could do the things that I do with
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, no,
But,
I see that with any system. I think there's got to be that pull there. There's got to be that, ooh, I'm really
yeah.
into this. And I think that's how you really then start working with the cards, is when you have that true pull to do it. But
Yeah,
you
me
have
too.
so much more to offer as well, not just divination. We've got astrology in there. And you make a reference to Hellenistic astrology. And I've got to say, I've got no idea. So I need to be taught. I need to know what Hellenistic astrology is.
Okay. Well, all right. So Western people, the type of astrology that we've encountered, mostly for the last, 140 years, maybe 150 years, is sort of a disjointed. I said that. Let me rewind. It's disconnected from the history from where it comes from, and I don't mean that with any disrespect. It's the type of thing that happens culturally. There will be things that get cut off from other stuff, and then you're left with the remnants, and then you build from there. It can be a sad thing. I mean, I'm not. I know I'm departing from astrology a bit, but let's consider this: how how cultures moving, people being disconnected from things, and you have what you know, and then you build from there. You have to sometimes. So what I'm saying with astrology is that there are lineages of understanding astrology that have maintained whole sign, whole house for thousands of years. And this would be, Islamic understanding of astrology. This would be uh, Vedic Indian um, understandings. They've been able to continue their lineages of how they understand astrology, though.
So what are you
Continuously.
saying? Are you saying the Western astrology that we look at, and you can talk quite freely with me because I have a complicated relationship with astrology. So,
Okay.
so are you saying that the Western astrology hasn't evolved into?
It evolved on us like parallel evolution, like a branch that had a certain amount of DNA that came, that it started with, and then branches of it became its own thing from there outward, right? Related to where it came from, but building upon itself to where it's a different kind of animal now, and
Wow.
so there with whole sign, whole house traditional, we're what's going on is that finally there's being translations of some of the old texts in English, and now English speaking people can read those texts and start to break it down and understand. So now there's access in the English speaking world. So I just wanted to acknowledge that there there are texts, if you know Arabic, if know Hindi or Sanskrit or something like that, that you have access to texts of all kinds that aren't in English. And so um, there was a group of people who took that very seriously. They learned Greek, they knew Greek, and they began translating this stuff. And it sounded very different than what you would normally encounter in the West. And when I say the West, I mean almost all of the English speaking world.
The standard that we're used to over here.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, do you say that as well?
Yeah.
Yeah. Here I am, way over in Southern California. So like when, yeah. Um, so the cool thing about that is that now we're talking about where the signs and the houses are locked together. Okay. It's not sidereal. It's not a quadrant based system. where you can have a house that spans two, a portion of two signs, and then the next one picks up. First house, Taurus, it's locked. Boom, 12 around the clock. Okay. And, I was not into astrology until I was drawn to it for curiosity of timing. And then I started looking at it, and I was so surprised that there were other. It just happened to be that traditional whole sign, whole house was coming out into my world, and these things were available. So, like, when I started looking at it, I'm like, that makes sense. I'm like, what? There are systems where the signs aren't blocked to the houses, and almost from I don't even know why that surprised me, but I kind of felt a little glimpse of like old soul stuff or whatever, where I was like, oh, it only made sense that way. I'm like, why would I have any opinion about that? So that's one thing. One of the other things is how the planets relate to the places, right? So, like in common modern astrology, we'll say, they allowed planets that were discovered more recently, like some of these outer planets, like a Uranus or a Neptune or a Pluto, to swap out some of the placements of like Mars. Mars and Scorpio. Mars rules Scorpio in the traditional house system. Mars has two places, Aries, Scorpio. But modern astrology says, well, let's experiment with putting Pluto as a ruler of Scorpio instead. And the thing is they weren't aware that there are complex timing systems that basically require the original traditional house system, the rulership system of the planets, in order for them to do their thing. And the reason why those planets were the planets is because those are the ones we could see. We didn't know about these other planets that were out there.
Yeah.
And right. So the thousands of years worth of observing those, how incredible the sky must have looked back then.
Oh yeah.
A total theater of
We've got
activity.
just up the road, we have a dark sky area where they have an observatory, and you can go and sit in the forest with the dark skies. So I can imagine how amazing it looked when everything was a dark sky.
Absolutely. There's a few people. Yeah, there are a few places that we can go. Sometimes out by Joshua Tree, you get some good sky. We have a place in Utah we like to go where you get a lot more, and it's just, but wow, even prior to modern technology, it must have been the Milky Way and all that. Yeah. And you can tell because there was so much writing about it and there's so much said about it. And it was such a part of life that people described what was going on inside themselves and what was going on around them through the dance of the configurations of the sky, in order to just have something dynamic and cool and representative enough to be able to explain what you're trying to get across, maybe to a younger person or somebody you're trying to teach or something like that. So I think it happens a little bit backwards than what people usually, they say, oh, you can read the stars, you can tell the future. It's like, well, it's just like a tableau. You're going to use the configurations of this glorious thing that's out there in order to somehow touch the almost unspeakable descriptions of what it's like to have a human experience and maybe relate somehow between each other about it. That seems a little bit more like what's going on, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Jane and I were having the conversation about this. Like I say, I have a really complicated relationship when it comes to astrology. There's something that just doesn't sit right in me about it. And it's more the case of things have changed. Our axis of movement's changed. And is there anyone out there who's mapping the stars these days like they used to do and saying, well, this is happening at the minute in the world. We can see that and we can corroborate it with the planets. But nobody seems to be doing that these days. They're just taking the chart as they see it and interpreting that. But this, I don't know, there's something that just doesn't sit right. But as you were talking about the traditional method, then that's led me to think, and whether that's the reason that it's not really sat with me so well is because I was just looking at the wrong system.
That's exactly what happened to me. I was turned off by certain kinds of astrology included, but certain kinds of yeah, maybe not like people that meaning well, but not exactly understanding what the operation really is, and maybe doing more harm than good, and taking things, we have to. If I could tack on a fourth thing to the three things that you asked,
Yeah.
would be to look at things a little bit more Zen-like and know that this doesn't equal that, right? This is never that. This is not that. It never is. It never is. It's always deeper than that. And actually, that's the beauty of it. That things, even it's a limitation of our language that only makes us say that this is that. It just in order to try to get something across to another ear, an appreciator. Other than that, it's rarely ever that. It's much, much more. And the deeper you look, the more you'll find out that there's worlds within worlds within worlds, right? But yeah, traditional astrology seems to be my encounter with it so far, which is, I'm in the third year of a pretty rigorous traditional um, study with Austin Coppock, who is, in my view, he's doing what you're saying. By the way, he is really
Mapping.
he has his finger on the pulse of like even what's happening in the world. Dr. Ali Alomi is another one. These are my go-tos.
I'm gonna have a look.
But yeah, Dr. Ali Alomi and Austin Coppock, they're practicing what you're talking about.
So big question, huge question. Do you think that we as humans have the capacity, even if we use all the things, including the Zen, do we have the capacity to actually understand the universe?
You mentioned quantum physics. I love that. They say as above, so below, right? That's
Yes.
one of those magical terms. And the more I learn, the more I find out how true that is. But what is above and below? It's, in this world where we're trying to get away from hierarchical language, we could say inside and out, and that's a lot more quantum, right?
Mm-hmm.
And not only is that important from a quantum level that we acknowledge the in and the out of it, is that it's about vibration more than it is about in and out. And what's out and what's in it gets entirely a big question mark there, because there's entanglement and there's it literally you can only kind of say, well, this particle will be here, it'll be maybe here or here, and it's not until you observe it that it finds a place.
It's wild,
And it
isn't
fixes
it?
itself, and then from that point it just persists as now it's that. I mean,
It's
okay, so
wild.
yeah, so can you understand all that? I think that, when Socrates says, something to the effect, well, when Plato says that Socrates says that, you really can't know anything. The more you say you know something, the more you're revealing that it's You don't.
Mhm.
That's absolutely true. And then that quantum iffiness. But that sounds okay. Then people get afraid of the bleakness, the meaninglessness, the um, what's that? What the nihilism that seems to
Yes,
be
yes. Well,
related to that.
I was listening to a podcast on that actually, that very question. And obviously, every time they find something new in those layers, then another question comes because it never answers everything. There's always a different line of inquiry afterwards. Just like divination, there's always another line of inquiry. And I always just wonder if our brains are physically capable of understanding the magnitude of everything, or is it like we use astrology, we use divination, we use even quantum physics as a system so that we're comfortable where we are?
Yeah. Well, we live in a very intellectual world. That's why we center the brain as the primary organ that we should be concerned about it when it comes to such things. But there have been other cultures, other times where they thought just as much of the liver,
Yeah.
that the liver was the thing, or your heart, and it's like we have these senses that we have with the capacity to our experiential world is much more than just our brains. Our brains are often defeating us as far as being able to work in that kind of symphonic harmony that we're looking for in a fully rounded experience. I think we overestimate our brain's part in
Mm.
in what's really going on there, because our brains. So how many people do we read for where their brains thought themselves into a corner that their heart doesn't want to
Oh,
be?
yeah. Oh,
And this
yeah.
is why they're coming to you. And you have to remind them to look at your heart. Your brain needs to back up a few steps and
Mm-hmm.
remember that it has a heart and it kind of needs it. So,
It's very true.
right.
Very, very
So
true.
it should be, if we're going to approach that question with any kind of realistic, like we're really actually going to entertain that absolutely unanswerable question, we have to start, I think, with what all of our human experience, and the fact that energy goes out way beyond our skin as well, and it goes
Mm-hmm.
way beyond time as well, and these things are true.
True
It's not,
fact.
it's true facts.
Mm-hmm. And that's the wild thing. The more that I truly believe that the quantum physicists and the people who are in theoretical physics and other biology as well, I really, really think that they're the modern day philosophers, or the modern day even mathematicians, and that they are on that spiritual path, whether they look at it purely as science or not. They're trying to answer those bigger questions for everybody.
I heard mathematicians,
That's all
and then
right.
when there was a bit of a breakup. Okay, but I'm gonna just judging where we're at. It sounds like, are you getting me okay? Am I breaking up?
Yeah, no, no, you're fine. I was only saying that I
Am I
think
okay?
the people who are seeking the answers are usually in a down the scientific route, but I think we can look at them, like you mentioned, Plato, Socrates, as people who are just trying to get answers.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. When you go into a query like that, are you looking for the answer that you're looking for, or are you looking for the answers that exist once you ask the question? Are you really being fair? And then the scientific method actually is pretty good at putting us in a headspace where we can compare things and look at things fairly balanced and come up with like reasoning and uh, uh, like false. What is it? False verification,
Yeah.
where you can work that way. So, like, yeah, I honor the scientific view as well. However, there are some limitations because they
Oh,
rarely
absolutely.
inquire about the experience. And what we're
Well,
talking about, I think, is
everybody
humans
laughs at
experience
me.
the world.
Yeah, everybody laughs at me
Uh,
because I actually wrote to one of the physicists at CERN and asked questions on pendulums and how we could work with quantum entanglement if it has a
yeah,
vibrational quality that could explain pendulum healing, for example. And they told me they couldn't see a link. So but so the spirituality, yes, they're asking those questions, but they're not following it through on what I see as a much bigger deal. I mean, we all want to know the bigger deal than what actually makes us human. We want to know all the other stuff too. Looks like we've lost Ethan a second. Jane says there are only 7 dark skies worldwide. We're lucky to be able to live next to one. I will just take Ethan off until he gets back on if he can. But what do you think in the comments? Let me add Ethan again. What do you all think in the comments? What are your thoughts on the universe? What are your thoughts on how much we can understand this crazy universe in which we live? Layla says, how do you tie magical remediation with traditional astrology?
the quickest route to that would be to utilize the planets that relate with what you're working with, and you're going to be looking for auspicious timing of connection of the aspects and placement of your planet. For love, Venus, perhaps. For overcoming obstacles, Jupiter. These are the benefics that do good things for us. And then there's an entire encyclopedia of relational herbs and are associated to these planets and these archetypes, these myths and gods that are associated with them. There's imagery. You can dress up in clothing. You can hold objects. You can do all
That's
kinds of stuff. And
amazing.
what's rad is that you have particular. You can figure out when is the best time. 3:23 a.m. on such and such a day is perfect for this operation, and then you go and do it.
I love that. That's amazing. So you can do that. I know honorary astrology. I've seen people teaching honorary astrology where it is literally just timing, but I think that's with the modern system as well. So tell us now, because I've had you this long. Tell us a bit about your shop. You have a shop.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So the business is we so yes, we have at various different times. I was for example, I really liked Pablo Robledo's Marseille decks. I was importing those and selling those for a little while. That was really cool. We do readings, we do candle service, so things like that. And then as I get my chops as an astrologer, I can do readings with that and remediation suggestions and stuff like that, and electional timing. Finding a good time to send an email, an important email, or to
Mm-hmm.
do whatever, start
Yeah.
start a website, start a job, stuff like that, right? And so the shop mostly now is where it's for the candle service, and it's to show where we're going to appear and how you can get readings is basically what it is now.
And where can people find that?
Myselfismycards.com. That's the card and candle website. And then we're on the social medias too with Instagram as well. And then Leela and I both have individual practices within that practice. Leela Nicoll, Ethan Nicoll. That's Nicoll with 2 L's. And then my astrologer site is ethannickollastrologer.com. And then they're all kind of linked together. You can find it. Once you get to the myself as my card stuff or Ethan Nicoll, you'll find it.
I'm just putting it in the comments now as you're saying it. Well, how is it then, before we go, I have to ask, how is it living in a household with both of you into weird stuff?
We're able to do this because we're able to do it, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And it really ramped up. We've always had our own way of looking at things and doing things, but it really ramped up around COVID time when we were given the time to go inward, and we
Yeah,
had to actually spend some concentrated time together. And either people survive that or they don't, and we did. And what we came out of that with was, if we weren't deeply connected on that level beforehand, we certainly were after.
that's amazing. It's beautiful. It really is. I know Jane and I, we live weirdness, so there's never a part of the day that doesn't incorporate something going on, whether it's something in the house or whether it's, we get our cards out of an evening just to play with them. And
Yeah.
conversations, I think it really helps in conversations because you can really hash out all those thought processes that you have on different things.
Yeah. We're developing a language, like, and then it breaks things out quite a bit too, because once you start to be able to communicate about something, now you have to face some of that stuff. I mean, it's not always easy, but
Yes.
but it's beautiful. And then that's why I say it's like, you can unearth things that you find out is incompatible, and the sooner you find that out, the better, I guess. But if when you find that it only deepens your relationship, that's beautiful. Talk about being thankful.
Yeah, absolutely. And what a beautiful way to end. I love that. We've done well there on that ending. So thank you, Ethan. Thank you for
Thank you.
humoring me and talking all things weird. We'll have to do it
It was a
again.
pleasure. Thank you.
And
Absolutely.
make sure you check out Ethan's details. They're all in the description below. And I'll see you next Friday at the same time. Goodbye.